What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. So, one of the most common things I see in the comment section is about the war. Why don't Russia and Ukraine make a peace agreement? Why don't they just sit down, make a peace agreement? Let's end this. And, it's a good question. And, I've talked about this before. And, I know a lot about this because I see this a lot. I study this, I research this. And we'll take a look here at what just happened. Russia rejects peace agreement, insisting its war in Ukraine will rage on for the foreseeable future. Here's what they said. Moscow has no interest in a proposed deal to end the war in Ukraine, a Kremlin spokesperson told the New York Times in a new interview. The admission, which was promoted by Russian state media, comes amid claims by American politicians that the United States could broker an agreement by withholding arms and urging Ukraine to make territorial concessions. Quote, there are currently no grounds for an agreement, Kremlin's Dmitry Peskov told the New York Times. We will continue the operation for the foreseeable future. Russia had previously accused the US and other Western governments of undermining efforts to negotiate an end to the hostilities. The rejection of a peace deal comes as critics of the US military aid to Kyiv, including former President Donald Trump, have insisted that such an agreement could be quickly reached, especially if Ukraine were pressured to make concession. I believe former President Donald Trump said that he could end the war on his first day of the next presidency if he were elected. It also follows a summit in Saudi Arabia over the weekend where involved diplomats from countries such as China, India, and the US, but not Russia, discussed the war. There, Ukraine pitched a 10-point peace plan that calls for withdrawal of all Russian forces from its territory. That being the key point there, that Russia would withdraw for peace in Ukraine, but Russia has flatly rejected for its calls to leave Ukraine. Russia President Vladimir Putin has described the country as a fiction that wrongly gained independence following the collapse of the Soviet Union. Last September, he also announced the illegal annexation of four regions in eastern Ukraine, stating that their residents will become Russian citizens forever. Sorry, I'm choking on my words here. A claim made despite the fact that Russia does not control large swaths of the territory in question, but yet he would still make them Russian territory, even though he doesn't even control some of this territory. Speaking of the Times, Peskov claims that Russia has no intention of trying to annex all of the country. He also claimed, or Russia claimed, that they wouldn't invade. Remember that claim? And here we are. However, Russian officials have also previously said they cannot tolerate an independent Ukraine that aligns itself with the rest. The West, yeah. We just want to control all the land we have now written into our Constitution as ours. Yeah, imagine that. And don't forget here that Dmitry Medvedev, Russia's former president, who was president in between Vladimir Putin's terms and could be their second in line if something were to happen to Putin, said that the war in Ukraine could last decades, which would mean 20 years or forever, could be a forever war. So this shows you that Russia might never end this war. And one of the main reasons for this is Ukraine wants Russia to leave its country. Ukraine says, this is not Russia's country. Leave. You're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to invade us. Russia says, we're not leaving unless you give us your land, your people, and your resources. Yeah, so just imagine if you were born in a different country, who knows? You might be listening to this video right now. You could be in Ukraine, who knows? Imagine if you were born and you lived in Ukraine and you lived in the border right now. Okay? By, some circumstance, you literally could have just lived somewhere else and been born somewhere else, okay? And imagine some president from another country decides that he wants to invade your land, starts shooting missiles and bombs at you, at your country, and says, we want to come in and take over your country. And don't forget that they've taken thousands and thousands of children there, literally just ripped them away from their families and sent them to what he calls re-education camps. So just think about that for a second. Literally, they might not ever see their actual birth parents ever again. Who knows where they've gone? They've gone to re-education camps. Let me know in the comment section what that reminds you of. And if these things don't get talked about, they could be forgotten. And I know what that reminds me of. And don't forget, on a weekly basis, they're shooting bombs and missiles at schools, churches, hospitals, maternity hospitals, playgrounds. And but when Ukraine launches a counteroffensive and they shoot one or two drones inside of Russia, Russia says, "Oh, the brutality, the brutality. We will not forget this." And it's like, Ukraine's been dealing with this for over a year. It's like, you guys realize what you've been doing to Ukraine, right? And and this is why this war could go on for a long time, because Ukraine doesn't want to give up its land, give up its people, and give up. And Russia's just like, well, yeah, we want the land, we want the resource, we want the oil underneath the land, we want the people there. And Russia's thinking, if we leave without the land, without the people, everybody will look at us like we're a loser. So we can't leave without the land, even though they've been pushed back from the original. Um, at first they had it land up top, and they actually came, towards Kiev. They've lost that point up top. I'll link you to my video that I did with Colonel Tony Schaefer. It shows the map here that they had originally. Very good video on that. But they've been pushed back only to the Eastern Front now. So they have lost land from where they were originally when they first really had kind of the surprise element of the war. And but now, Russia has just raised their draft age, their conscription age, and now they're going to potentially bring in millions of more of men that have not enlisted in their military. And they're basically going to force more men to come into Russia's army, people that have not signed up for their army. They're going to say, hey, just because you were born here in Russia and you didn't sign up for our army, we're going to force you to come into our army now and fight or go invade this other country that you don't want to invade, but we're going to force you to. So yeah, it's getting pretty nasty. And imagine if this goes on for decades and more. Yeah. So let me know your thoughts on this, and let me know, do you see an end to this? Because Russia just rejected peace agreements and says, no, we don't want peace agreements. We want their land, we want their people, we want their resources, and that's it. So there's not really a peace agreement that can be had at this point. They're basically saying, give us everything or that's it. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here with everything happening on a daily basis that you need to know about. If you haven't yet, subscribe down below and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on any new videos that come out here on our YouTube channel every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for liking and sharing these videos. Here's my video I just did with Colonel Tony Schaefer, which talks about a lot of viewpoints you might not have ever heard about. Or click here to see my video about nuclear doomsday and the major warning coming with it. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.